coming off that comeback extra inning win against the White Sox on Wednesday, people want to know, do you believe in your 9-3 Cleveland Guardians? Of course, people would ask if this team is real after 12 games. Less than 10% of the season has been played, and we're already trying to ask if this team is for real or not. But 2 weeks in, let's talk about what you can be feeling good about, what to be concerned about, and I've got some ideas for the Cleveland Guardians City Connect jerseys this year. It's Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to a Friday edition of Locked On Guardians. I'm hosting solo today. It's Justin Latta with you. And before we get things started today, let's talk about our title sponsor. That is FanDuel. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. First of all, kudos to the Naylor brothers. How are we still feeling about that? That is a great comeback win. That's a great way to go into an off day. Down 5 runs. I know you don't want to be behind the White Sox, especially 2 days in a row like that. I know the starting pitching wasn't great 2 days in a row. We're actually going to talk a little about that today. But how fun was that? I mean, on National Siblings Day, both homer in the same inning again. The game-tying hit by Josh. The game-winning hit by Bo. Josh would have scored the winning run if they didn't replace him with Tyler Freeman, but safe to say Freeman may not have scored, or Naylor might not have scored on that. But let's give it up to the Naylor brothers. What a fun win after that, you know, the way that series had gone, the first part of that game, and quite frankly, how Tuesday went as well. And I wrote something for the News Herald. And by the way, I've been freelancing for the News Herald and the Morning Journal for a couple of years now, covering the Guardians in the minor league system. I've been covering the Guardians / Indians minor league system since 2007. So this puts me on year 17 of doing that. And I was the managing editor of Guardians / Indians Baseball Insider from 2018 to 2022. So I've been with this team a long time, covering the prospects and the big league team here and there. And I wrote for the News Herald to start the year about, could the Naylors be the next great tandem of brothers in Cleveland? And they've had some good ones. They've had the Perry brothers, the Alomar brothers, I'm trying to think what brothers it was back in. One of them's a Hall of Famer, so I should know the name. Sewell? Was it Sewell? No, I can't remember the name, but the Guardians had one Hall of Fame brother, and his brother also played. Was it the Waddells, maybe? Can't remember the top of my head. I should know that. But so we had the Alomars, we've had the Perrys, we've had that other team that has a team player in the Hall of Fame, and now we've got the Naylors. Could they be the next great set of brothers? Cleveland does know a thing or two about brothers in baseball, so hopefully they continue that this year. We'll feel good. Also wanted to ask people who listen to our podcast, it seems like we get good numbers after the team wins, and the numbers of listeners are down a little bit after a loss. So I want to hear from you people that you just don't want to relive a game after a loss. Are you feeling down after they lose a game that you're like, okay, I don't want to rehash this. I don't need to relive the frustration, the pain, whatever it happens. And, you know, especially after the Naylor comeback win, everybody wanted to revel in that. So everybody wanted to hear about that again. But let us know if you're either an everydayer or you're, you know, not quite an everydayer, that you prefer listening after they win or after they lose. And if you don't listen after they lose, I don't know, just tell us why. I'm very curious to know how people are doing that. So the question everybody wants to know is, do you believe in the Cleveland Guardians? I heard a lot of that today on Thursday on social media. I heard a lot of that on some radio stuff, whatever. It's 12 games into the season. So of course, why wouldn't people be asking if this team is for real after 12 games? I mean, it's like 7% of the season that has been played so far. So yes, of course, we can tell what's going to happen after 12 games. That is ridiculous that we can guess how good this team is going to be after just 12 games, if everything is for real. And before everybody starts commenting in the comment section, it was Joe and Luke Sewell. So I did say it was the Sewells. Okay. That are in the Hall of Fame, or Joe's in the Hall of Fame, and his brother Luke played for the Blues. Was it the Indians? Okay, now I'm going to get myself in trouble again. But yes, people really are obviously sitting here saying, should we believe in the Guardians after 12 games? They're 9-3. Is it too early? And people are always have doubts. They're always skeptical. And of course, the Guardians, for one reason or another, some self-inflicted, some unfair. People don't like to believe in them in this town, whether it's an ownership thing, whether it's a fan-friendly thing, whether it's a media thing, whatever it is. There are people who love to be skeptical for whatever reason there is. So of course people would ask after 12 games that they want to know, is this team real, or is it not for real? And the no fun, realistic choices after 12 games, just it's ridiculous to sit there and say like what is and what isn't, because it's been 12 games. I mean, most guys don't even have enough batted ball data, enough at bats to even sit here and have things like batted ball data or strikeout and walk rates stabilized to know where they're going to stand for the year. Like, we're not even that far into the season. So it's just, there's been one homestand. It's been one, not even a whole homestand. It's been 3 home games. So we could definitely chill on that, but that's not why we're here today. Let's talk about what is real and what isn't real with this team through 12 games. And the first thing I'm going to point out is the run differential. Now, some of this you're going to have to take with a caveat, because there are 2 things. One is, yes, you played Oakland and you played the White Sox, and I don't know if we're going to call Seattle a real good team this year. They're okay. They're definitely not Oakland. They're definitely not the White Sox. Those 2 teams are in a class of their own when it comes to just misery this year. And boy, I know no one's going to say feel bad for the White Sox, but Yohan Moncada, that ugly injury, I guess Eloy Jimenez is going to come back this weekend, but he's always banged up. Luis Roberts always banged up. I mean, it's tough to be a White Sox fan. Is not as tough as it is being an Oakland fan, but it's tough. So we'll take the run differential thing with a bit of a caveat that, yes, they have a very good run differential right now. And in fact, it is the best in baseball before Thursday's game started. So after Thursday's games, the Royals might be a bit ahead now. I'm not sure, because they pummeled the Astros. I guess we'll have to start asking if the Royals are for real too. But the Guardians, they were averaging over 5 runs a game. They're giving up less than 3 runs a game. It's one of their best run differentials to start the season in some time. Last year, this team scored 55 runs in 12 games, and they allowed 59 runs in 12 games. So they had a negative run differential this time a year ago. And they've somewhat played the same schedule. We talked about they've played Seattle and Oakland. They played Seattle twice at this point last year. And they played the Yankees in games 11, 12, and 13, which are coming up on this weekend, which we'll talk about later in today's podcast as well. And if you look at those games last year, they got shut out by the Mariners on opening night, and they played a 1-run game to wrap up that first series at Seattle. And then they played 2 straight 1-run games in Oakland, one of which was an extra inning win, another of which was a walk-off loss. So you had 2 1-run games right there that were kind of tough, and then had some offensive troubles against the Mariners when they came to town for the home opener. And then you had to win a 12-inning game in the 10th game of the season. And then their 11th game of the season was a 1-run win. So we have less 1-run games so far in 2024. That's a good thing for, Clase. It's a good thing for the bullpen. The bullpen's a big reason why this is going well so far. We'll talk about that. But I would just say less 1-run games this year has been a big thing. And the run differential. And we've seen some people compare this season to 2011 as well, when they got off to, I believe they were really good after 45 games. Was that the year they were 30-15? Yeah, they were 30-15 after 45 games. 12 games into that season, they were 8-4, so they were close. But again, that was a little bit smoke and mirrors too. They had allowed 43 runs and scored 48 runs, so they had a +5 run differential. Obviously, that came falling apart very quickly. By the way, I'm sure you can guess the player on the Guardians now that was on that team in 2011. Shockingly, it was not Brian Shaw. That would have been 2 years later, but these 2 guys are still pitching in baseball. So we'll ask you that coming out of the break. But yeah, I just think the run differential, you have to be careful with that because of Oakland for sure. and the White Sox. So we'll take that with a little bit of a grain of salt there. And then obviously the 8-0 game against Seattle. And the other concern is you had 2 games pitched by Shane Bieber that were really, really good outings from him. And of course, he's out for the year. So it would have been a good sign for this team had Bieber continued on that path. Obviously, he won't, and they're going to have to make that up somehow, and they're going to have to address the rotation if this thing is going to be for real. But I think the first point is the run differential with a couple of caveats. The pitching staff overall, I still really like. The offense has been better. It's been better than a year ago. So while we're saying that, are the Guardians going to play at a 750 win pace all year? Probably not. No, probably not. And is that sustainable? No. If that's what you're looking for, if that's what you think you want to be sustainable, then I got some really bad news for you. You're going to be really unhappy. That's what I always say about people who are championship or bust mentality. I'll explain a little bit more of that as well coming up, because I feel like I haven't really talked about that on the podcast before, about championship mentality or championship or bust mentality. So we're going to talk about that in just a second, along with more reasons to be feeling good about the Guardians this year and a couple reasons to be concerned after 12 games, even though it is ridiculous to ask the question after 12 games. Stick with me. Should also stick with trying to save some money with Ibotta. Spring is sprung means spring cleaning. So stock up on your cleaning supplies, swapping out winter clothes for spring clothes. Use Ibotta and get real cash back with whatever you're purchasing this spring. The warm weather, I think, is getting here. My door was starting to stick today. So usually I got to get a new door this year. Usually that means that spring is definitely here. And Ibotta is the free app. It's going to give you the most cash back every time. So if you're shopping on hundreds of items, whether it's groceries, clothes, whatever it is, if you're buying cleaning supplies for your spring cleaning or doing some yard work, planting some mulch, do it with Ibotta. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 for just trying the Ibotta app. So just try it, and you're going to get $5 back when you use our code LOCKEDONMLB when you register if you download the app. So just go to the App Store or the Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app to start earning cash back and use our code LOCKEDONMLB. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store and use our code LOCKEDONMLB. The championship or bust mentality. I want to point that out real quick. Before we point that out, I also want to say Guardians and Yankees this weekend. You can catch all the action in your Sirius XM app. Just search Guardians, provided they play. Maybe you're going to be watching the Ohio State spring game like me Saturday. Although that game's early in the day, so maybe you don't have to listen to it. But whatever you're doing, maybe you're doing some spring stuff if the weather holds up if you're not at the game. But tune into the Guardians on Sirius XM. Just search for Guardians on your app. The championship or bust mentality, real quick. This is a quick diversion from what I wanted to talk about. But if you want the Guardians to play, if your expectation is a 750 win percentage this year, and you think that that's what you need to stay engaged, and I don't think we have any fair weather fans here for the most part. I mean, I did ask the question about people who listen to the podcast after they win and our numbers dip when they lose, which is an interesting dichotomy, which doesn't surprise me also either. But I think we have a lot of diehards listening to this show. Otherwise, why would you be listening if you're not a diehard baseball fan or Cleveland baseball fan? But the championship or bust mentality, like, you're going to be unhappy every year if that's your belief that the season was terrible because they didn't win a championship. Like, outside of the Tom Brady New England Patriots, like, if that's your mentality, you're going to be disappointed most years. There is a decent amount of parity in all of the sports. I know baseball has the high payrolls. People get mad about that, and the Dodgers, all that other stuff. But if your only way to enjoy a season is if they win a championship, you're just going to be unhappy most years. And I don't know what to tell you. If that's how you want to, I'm not going to say how you should feel, how you shouldn't feel, but I'm going to tell you, you're going to be disappointed a lot if that is your philosophy. And it's going to be disappointed if you think the Guardians are going to play 750 ball all year without Shane Bieber, because they're also not going to face Oakland and the Whites. Well, they face the White Sox a lot, but they only got Oakland one more time, which is April. So I said the lack of one-run games also makes me feel better about this start than a year ago. So that's already off to a good one. Only 3 one-run games. They won one of them, which was a comeback on Wednesday. And that also is good things for Emmanuel Clase, who I think just looks a ton better this year so far. He looks like he's throwing more quality strikes, and obviously hasn't blown a save yet this year, knock on wood. Not walking guys. He doesn't walk a lot of guys to begin with, but he is missing more bats this year. I mean, it's only 6 innings, but he's got a strikeout rate that's 5% higher this year. His swinging strike rate this year has rebounded to previous years. Last year, it was down to 13%. This year, it's back to 16, which is where he's been most of his career. FIP, filling independent pitching, which eliminates luck. It's just home runs, strikeouts, and walks. Obviously, hasn't walked anybody. Obviously, hasn't allowed any home runs. 121. So FIP agrees. He is off to a really, really good start. Also has a 353 batting average on balls in play. So you would hope that's going to even out. But I think Class A is off to a better start. And some of that is just going to be maybe less use, but also he's missing more bats. When you miss more bats, you have more you have less bad luck. And the bullpen as a whole has just been fantastic for the Guardians. No surprise there. The whole cast out there, short of Scott Barlow, who's had a struggling start to the year, and Eli Morgan, who's had some good moments, but hasn't, usually the first half of the season is really where Eli takes off, and the second half he falls apart. So maybe he'll have a really good second half, but if he doesn't get any better consistently, I don't know if he's going to make it to the second half with this team. But everybody in the bullpen is just doing something great right now. Outside of those couple of guys there. And I think they'll get Barlow together. I do. His velocity is down, so that does concern me a little bit, but he's still getting a lot of swings and misses, believe it or not. A 13% swinging strike rate, mostly due to his slider. So I do think there are some signs there. He's just got to throw more strikes, but we've talked about Hunter Gaddis. Immediately is into a high leverage role, looks fantastic. Throwing harder. The slider's working for him. He still has that great changeup, but he hasn't had to use it as much. So, it's still a very good weapon. Cade Smith has been incredible so far. Throwing hard, has that splitter. I wrote in my scouting report, and this is another place you can find my writing, is next year in Cleveland.substack.com. Coming into the year, I wrote the scouting report that he has a Trevor Stephan starting kit. He has a very hard riding fastball. He has a slider that probably isn't as good as Trevor Stephan's was 2 years ago when he was really good, but the splitter for Cade Smith, really awesome, and he's going to continue to be good. I really feel good about him if he continues to throw strikes. Nick Sandlin has been great this year. He is getting swinging strike rate of over 17%, so he's been fantastic. Everyone in that bullpen has really contributed, and obviously your bullpen can hide a lot of warts and do really good things for you. So when you trust Clase, you trust Sandlin, you trust Gaddis for now. I don't think you won't. Heron's been good. You trust Cade Smith. That's 5 guys right there. And, hopefully we can add in a sixth here, and either Barlow or Morgan gets it together, and you get Sam Hentges back. You're pretty deep. You're pretty deep out there. And this is a group I think that's going to add on to the bullpen as the year goes on, which I'll maybe touch on a little bit later if we have time. But just the youth movement of the bullpen, I also think it's such a great sign that it can be very dangerous and tricky to trust young relievers, because there are going to be some hiccups. These guys, outside of Sandlin and Clase in this bullpen, Barlow's been around too. But those guys don't have a lot of experience in the bullpen. Even Eli Morgan, I'm not going to count that much. I know it's been a couple of years now, but he's just kind of an up and down guy the last couple of years. He's had his moments. But you've got 3 experienced relievers out there. Clase, the most experienced, obviously, out of all of them. Sandlin's been around longer, but he's also had his inconsistencies as well. So it's a young bullpen. So that can be tricky to navigate, but they've been fantastic so far. And look, this is what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to go to these young arms that throw hard, and you're going to have to hope they throw strikes. Because you might add an Andrew Walters at some point this year. Maybe we see a Nick Enright. Maybe Anthony Goes works his way back up. I've heard he's looked really good so far. He's throwing hard. Control still a concern with him, but maybe he gets another look. You're going to get Hentges back. Like, you got to go with the young guys in this bullpen, and I think that's tricky. But there's also a history of young bullpen relievers being good and helping a team out, because that's when you got the most bullets in your arm, right? Everybody, all these pitchers who are unfortunately having Tommy John these days, but look at the history of good teams going to the playoffs. You had the Angels with Francisco Rodriguez, K-Rod, who was a great reliever for the Angels. Josh Hader, when he came up, was a great reliever. Devin Williams for the Brewers also. All these guys, they come in the bullpen. Last year, the Phillies, Orion Kirkring, late in the year, came up and was one of their trusted relievers late in the season. He had like a couple games under his belt. So there's a real history there of trusting young relievers, because they throw the hardest because they haven't had the innings wear down yet. They get a lot of swings and misses. Teams haven't seen them. So there is a history to this too. And I think the youth movement in the bullpen's been great. It's awesome to see Vogt trust these guys and find out, like, can they get it done? You've got to throw them in and figure it out. So that's been really good. I know people are saying, well, he's got to stop trusting Barlow. He's got to stop trusting Morgan. You need all these guys, especially with Shane Bieber down and Gavin Williams out right now. You need them all. So they're coming through right now. You can't overuse them early in the season. You have to use everybody in your bullpen because you just cannot use everybody the way you're using them. It's not great. But it's great that he is trusting the young guys in big spots, and they are coming through right now. So super impressed with that. I feel pretty good about that, as I've said before. All right. There's one more reliever I want to talk about, and I want to talk about another factor here. We'll talk about some reasons to be concerned about this team after 12 games, even though, again, this is super ridiculous, but why not? It's an off day. And also, I've got an idea for the Guardians City Connect jerseys. I hope everybody loves it. I would be excited by this, so stick with me. Also, stick with FanDuel if you want to make some money. We got playoffs coming up. NBA, NHL, those playoffs are coming up. I'm not like a giant hockey fan, but man, the Stanley Cup playoffs, so exciting. They're so fun. The NBA, I don't know, Cleveland, not sure how excited we should get about the Cavs. We're talking about, the Guardians after 12 games and how much you can really believe. The Cavs, I don't know. But right now, FanDuel is the place to bet on every game. You can get $150 in bonus bets if you are a new customer, guaranteed. $150, win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks. All in the app that is safe and secure and easy to use. I can't tell you, working in cybersecurity, how important that is too. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Are you struggling to close deals? I know Class A is not, but B2B selling is tougher than ever. And that's why I want to talk to you about LinkedIn Sales Navigator. It's a sales intelligence platform that helps professionals effectively prospect and engage high-value customers and drive higher revenue and increase sales performance. Sales Navigator helps you target the right buyers, surface key signals such as job changes and what accounts you should prioritize, and it shows you hidden allies so you can find those buyers that are most likely to convert. FanDuel is fueled by LinkedIn's 1 billion member platform. Sales Navigator gives you the most up-to-date first-party data. First-party data is so important, enabling you to unlock conversation with the people that matter. Right now, you can try LinkedIn Sales Navigator and get a 60-day free trial at linkedin.com/lockedon. That is linkedin.com/lockedon for a 60-day free trial. Let LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you sell like Jose Ramirez, a superstar, today. Just go to linkedin.com/lockedon to get started. Also, want to remind you, you can listen to all of the Guardians action against the Yankees this weekend, whatever gets played due to weather, on your Sirius XM app. Just search Guardians on your app. All right. I also want to point out, too, we're talking about the bullpen. Tyler Beede, been really impressive. And this is a two-pronged thing. Tyler Beede, wouldn't know this, but he leads the Guardians in swinging strike rate at 19%, just above Nick Sandlin at 17. We're both above Bieber in Class A. So Tyler Beede, in a lot of ways, has been the Guardians' best reliever. I mean, 6 innings of work, 209, no ERA so far, 171 FIP. He's looked pretty good. I enjoy he's got 9 strikeouts in 6 innings, 2 walks, only allowed 1 hit. So he's been pretty unhittable so far in 5 games and has given 2 holds. Is he the new setup guy? I don't know. I think they're going to move in guys in and out, but I feel like you can really trust him so far. I feel very good about Tyler Beede. Just looks like he's having a late career revival. I shouldn't say late. He's 31. He's not that old, but obviously a former first-round pick who's had to kind of reinvent himself and go play overseas. He's been great. Really good that they can trust him, and he's taken on that role, and I think it's going to be hard. There was some talk about moving him into the rotation with the injury to Bieber and how you're going to manage things and all that, but I don't know. He's been so darn good in the bullpen. It might be hard to move him out. And I think he also qualifies here as leadership. I know we can't quantify this, and it's 12 games in, so you just don't know. And again, you don't know any of this after 12 games. That's why I think it's ridiculous people are sitting there saying, do you believe? But we could sit here and say, well, what are the good signs? What are the bad signs? And there are some good signs. The leadership thing I know is super hard to quantify, and it frustrates people sometimes, but Tyler Beede and this WWE belt, this Guardians WWE belt that he bought and giving out to the best player after each game, after each win. I love that vibe. I love the Austin Hedges vibe. I know people get upset about that too. I understand, but again, there's a reason that teams value leadership among players. And I don't know, there's just a really good vibe among that right now. I feel really good about it. I also think Stephen Vogt, so far, there's a good vibe there. So we'll see. So what's not as great for the Guardians so far? We have to start with starting pitching concerns because the Guardian starters are not getting deep into games. And it's early, so we'll see how that goes. But, Logan Allen on Tuesday night, I know he buckled down a little bit after that 5-run first, and there was some bad luck involved. But in 3 starts, 15 innings, he's getting 5 innings of work so far each night. Gonna have to get deeper than that. And Tanner Bybee just had a tough night on Wednesday as well. He gave up 5 runs. He had the tough start in Oakland because of a little bit of weather reasons. Much better in Minnesota, but like it or not, Tanner Bybee is kind of your ace right now. He is the guy you got to turn to, and he was the Guardians' best pitcher a year ago. Quite frankly, he was the guy you can count on to give you a good start after the loss and go deep. And it's tough to be a sophomore in baseball. Truthfully, that's why they call it the sophomore slump, because teams adjust to you. They have your video now. They know how to adjust to you. And I'm not even going to say that's anything with Tanner's issue, because really it's the walks. He's walked more guys than you would normally expect from him. So he's always had good control in the minors. I just think he'll be fine. He'll get it together. He'll have less walks. His slider was fantastic against the White Sox. Was curious why I didn't throw the changeup more in that game. Very fastball heavy. I think he is a guy who needs to rely more on a pitch mix, but maybe they felt like the changeup wasn't a good matchup against the White Sox. A lot of lefties in that lineup, so I'm not sure. Maybe he just didn't have a feel for it. Maybe the wind was an issue, although I didn't think it was, but he'll be fine. I'm not really worried about Tanner Bybee, but as a staff whole, McKenzie, Carrasco, Allen, Bybee included, because he hasn't gotten super deep yet. And whenever Gavin Williams comes back, they're going to need these guys to start going 6 or 7 innings. They're going to need to put together a couple of starts in a row as a staff to get 6 or 7 innings in, because you cannot have this bullpen over reliance. Right now, I know I said the bullpen's good, and I do feel good about the bullpen, but the Guardians have, I believe, the second most innings pitched among relievers in baseball this year. Do I have that right? It looks like, okay, maybe it's they're 6 at 48 innings. They have the 6th most innings pitched so far among bullpens in baseball. Tampa Bay is ahead of them. The Cubs are ahead of them. The Marlins are ahead of them. The Padres are ahead of them, and the Dodgers are ahead of them. What the Guardians are doing, though, is they have the best bullpen in baseball in terms of ERA and FIP, which is great. They have the 6th most innings, but all the 5 teams above them have terrible ERAs so far. But you don't want to burn these guys out too early on. I know bullpen can hide warts, which, maybe this team, the bullpen hides the starting pitching issues. Maybe it hides some offensive issues, but you cannot burn these guys out in the first half. So they're going to have to get these guys getting a little bit deeper into the game. As far as offense is concerned, this team is still not walking a lot. They are last in walk rate at 6.9 as an offense. So this team's going to have to do a better job at working walks. They are not very patient. Still second to last in hard hit rate, or third to last. They don't hit the ball that hard. That's still an issue for them. They're hitting better this year. There's more offense so far this year. That's good. They just don't hit the ball that hard. And this team may never hit the ball that hard. So want to know what? If you're not going to hit the ball hard, then you've got to walk more, and you've got to maximize your base runners. And when you do get that hard hit ball, got to be with runners on. So you really got to you got to make those opportunities count. So a few more walks. They are getting hit by pitches a lot. You've got Freeman, who gets hit by a pitch. Laureano's been hit by a couple. Obviously, Andres Jimenez is the king of that. They're still 9th in OBP at 335. So they're getting on base despite that poor walk rate, even though they're only hitting 264 as a team, because they hit by pitches. Maybe that's a hidden skill. We just don't know. And then the bottom of the order. Boy, I know Will Brennan had a tough night Wednesday. There are some things in the underlying data that suggest he's doing better than he is. But what scares me about Will Brennan is that chase rate. He is just reaching for a lot. He is 22nd in baseball in chase rate at 47%. Chase rate. And he's down there with guys like Eddie Rosario, who are famous chasers, and Gabriel Arias is ahead of him. And he's nowhere near the worst of Javi Baez, Salvador Perez, who are terrible at that sort of thing. But he is up there in baseball and chase rate. And that's because he makes a lot of contact. This is a guy historically who has just made a ton of contact. So he feels more confident in chasing balls out of the zone because he makes contact. So he's a big part of why this Guardians offense doesn't walk a whole lot. So Will Brennan, hope he can find some more patience. It's mind-boggling to me. I watched this kid in the minors hit and hit and hit, and this is, I know Jeff did a piece years back on why certain prospects fail, and couldn't figure out why Matt Laporta didn't hit. And maybe it's hard hit balls for Brennan. He doesn't hit the ball hard. He's not a power hitter. He did hit enough doubles in the minors, but some of this stuff doesn't translate. I don't know. He's 26 now, so this is big for him. At some point, we're going to have a conversation about how long his leash kind of lasts this year. It's not ready for it yet, but going to have to get there soon. The bottom of the order, though, just has to be better. It's going to be tough for the Guardians. You've got, Freeman and Brennan who are hitting fifth or sixth a lot on nights. You've got Laureano hitting up there. You're keeping Naylor and Rocchio at the bottom of the order to kind of take the pressure off them and balance things out, which I do like. I think that's a good approach, because obviously you saw what Bo Naylor did Wednesday. He can give you a lot down there if you need it. And that was a good thing that worked out. And I don't know about Rocchio, but keeping the pressure off as much as you can for those guys and letting them just contribute is probably what's best for them. But that 5 through 7, though, is pretty brutal some nights if they don't get it going. I think Freeman, I do believe in Freeman right now. I think that there are some signs, too, that he's getting unlucky. I'm not saying he's going to be a great hitter, but I think he's going to be okay. Should he be hitting fifth? I don't know. That's probably not, but that's where this team is right now. So that 5 through 7 spots, they may have to move up Bo Naylor sooner or later, whether they like it or not, even though he's more of a 3 true outcome hitter. Before we get out of here, we'll talk about the Yankees series real quick. It's coming up this weekend, but I've got an idea for City Connects. Stay with me. You see this guy all over town. You see the billboards. Everybody in Cleveland knows who this is. You don't even got to say his name. And I bet you know who I'm already talking about. If you're watching on YouTube, it's Tim Misney. I'm joking, obviously, but how hilarious would it be? I'm sure they won't do this. How hilarious would it be, though? You know the eyebrow. He has the eyebrow. I want to see, like, a minor league team do this. I know the Guardians won't for their City Connects, but I want to see a team do the Cleveland Misneys, some kind of Misney jersey. Just that guy, it's a marketing opportunity for him. It's a good marketing opportunity for another team in Cleveland, whether it's the Captains or maybe, I don't know, probably just the Captains. I don't think Akron can do it. They're too far away, but I don't know. Wouldn't it just be hilarious to see the eyebrow, the Tim Misney thing on Guardians jerseys? Because obviously that's very, very niche Cleveland right there. Niche? Am I being Boy Meets World right there? I don't know. But it's a very Cleveland specific thing. It'd be hilarious to see the eyebrow there. Guardians City Connects come, I believe, May 17th. So we should be getting a design soon. I'm sure it won't be Tim Misney's eyebrows as bad as I want it to be, because that would just be hilarious. But hey, it would be pretty funny. It would be very Cleveland specific. Everybody here would understand. Nobody else would, but I'm sure it wouldn't sell. All right, the Yankees, they're going to be tough this weekend. The offense looks for real. You've got Juan Soto, who's just really good. Aaron Judge, who's always pretty good. It's a tough lineup. They've got some good hitters in that lineup. Volpe's off to a decent start, even though I think that some of that is a little bit of luck. And, you got Rizzo, who's doing okay so far. You got a couple of guys in that order. Not facing their best, though. This is what I'm concerned about this weekend, though. You get Carrasco pitching on Friday if they play with the rain. Clark Schmidt, who's been average, okay. And then Saturday, you got Tristan McKenzie and Luis Heel. Heel's missed some bats, but he hasn't gone very deep, and he's walked some guys, too. So, but he's had some good numbers, and you need 2 good starts out of them in a row. Thankfully, the bullpen's rested after Thursday, and then Sunday in the finale, if they, again, depending on the games they get in, you got Logan Allen, Nestor Cortez. We know about Nestor Cortez not missing a lot of bats. He lets the ball get hit in the air, but hopefully it's a good day for guys like Laureano. Jimenez hits lefties just fine. But again, the bullpen should be rested. Let's hope the Guardian starters can get deeper into the games this week, and that'll be a key for them, especially with this with this Yankees offense, with all the power hitters they have. They've got a good bullpen too, so you're not going to want to get behind them. All right, that's all the time we have today. Hope you guys all have a great weekend and enjoy. Hopefully the Guardians get all 3 of these games in against the Yankees. So let me know if you're watching the games, and we'll get back to you on Monday in your feed. Have a good weekend. Go, Guardians, go.